So I play a lot of Doom Eternal, and what I found out that there are lots of tips that could really help you. I don't think Nightmare difficulty is really hard, and we're gonna mostly talk about the Ancient Gods DLC because that one is the hardest. There are a few fundamental things you need to keep in mind when you're playing, and then I think it's very doable. You don't need to have godlike aim, and even on console, on which I play, it's very doable. So here are my top tips for Nightmare difficulty on Doom Eternal. So first is you need to keep moving. You need to keep moving and dodge bullets. What's going to happen if you stay in one place, the whole map is going to run towards you. So if you're going to stand in one place for 5 seconds, you're already dead. So I think you need to have a 5-second rule to go away. Then you really need to use jump pads, because if you're down low and you jump up high, they can't use those jump pads. So it's going to take a big enemy, or even smaller ones, a lot of time to go up, and then you can kill the guys that are above you. So keep making circles around the map. Another thing about the movement is you need to be able to dodge. So know how enemies are attacking and look at those projectiles. You need to dodge them. Then, if you're able to move, we have a second tip, which is the dominant weapon strategies. Look, the game is pretty hard because you have around 10 things you can do at one time, but what do you need to do? So what I'm gonna say is at which situation you can best use which weapons. But a dominant weapon strategy is the Super Shotgun Ballista combo. You're gonna select those two, and with R1 or the quick swap, you're gonna keep switching between those two weapons to get a high amount of damage. And it's also fairly easy because you don't need to track enemies. You just need to shoot and then you can swap to the other gun. Whereas with the minigun it's fairly hard because you really need to track an enemy, and I don't think it does that much damage anyway. If you don't know what to do, just do that. If you see a lot of small enemies, use the sticky bomb. You can shoot up to 5 sticky bombs, and the area of damage is pretty large. So you're gonna kill them quickly because they also don't have a lot of health. Then, if you're running around and you're low on health, or just generally walking around and you see one enemy, use your super shotgun, hook, and shoot him so you get armor. If you shoot, you get armor. You can also then chainsaw him, which is good for ammo, which you need to keep up. However, you do not get armor from doing that. So know that. So when you run around, if you just see one enemy, just heal up with armor and health by using the super shotgun. Also, if in between you have a big enemy, additionally you can use the Bazooka with the special 3-time shot. It does a fair amount of damage, and there's certain enemies who are really easy to get that way, especially ones that move a lot, because you can use the lock-on. The only downside with the lock-on, don't do it when a lot of other enemies are around, because you're likely not going to even lock the guy you want to. Then the third tip is keep oversight. Don't focus too much on the shooting, focus more on the positioning, how they are shooting, where the projectiles are going. That's probably your best bet at keeping oversight, because there's a lot of things you need to keep in your mind. So don't focus on just one thing, look at the whole screen. Doom Eternal is not a shooter where you shoot at the distance. You need to look at the whole screen to see what's going on. If there's some flying ball, I don't know how to call them, you need to see it in your corner of your eye. So don't just look at one person, look at them all. Then our next tip is stay calm and play smoothly. What's going to happen a lot is that you're trying to do a lot of things at once, and then you're playing faster than you actually can, which makes it actually hard to even put up all those buttons, and you're going to have a struggle. So you're not even going to be able to do that. So just keep calm, play smoothly. I mean, you want to kill them fast, but just do it at your own pace. Otherwise you're just going to get stuck with the controls, and you probably have more time than you think. If you move enough, you don't need to kill them immediately. Alright, so now you're calm and stuff, I know what you need to do. Actually, it's pretty hard to do this on console, because the base controls are just pure shit. Because what you need to do, you need to aim, walk and shoot, and some buttons are just shit. They're at a shit place, which means you can't even put those buttons without fucking up. So what I did is made some custom controls that really help you. And the key in those controls is that you can walk, aim and shoot without moving your thumbs from those sticks and your right middle finger. So you can keep shooting whilst performing those actions. So I advise you just copy these controls because I think they are the best, or have some small variation on it. It's gonna take you a day or two to get used to it, but I think this will largely make it easy to play this game. Then I'm gonna talk about the aim settings. With the aim settings, I have it relatively high. I have no aim smoothing because that's gonna give you an inconsistent aim. And I also have no aim assist, and that's probably gonna be the problematic one. I'm not saying you really should turn it off, but I think aim assist is problematic because it gives you inconsistent aiming, because it has some magnetic pull on some enemies, and when there are a lot of enemies around you and when you shoot at one, I think it makes it more difficult. So that's why I have no aim assist. Well, to be honest, I also don't like the idea of PC players saying I have aim assist, therefore I can't really aim. So now we're going to talk about equipment. The flame belch and the normal grenade is pretty good if you have some enemies around you. You spray with your flame belch and then bump one grenade and it gives an explosion. Anything that's an explosion is going to do well here. So remember, the flame belch always needs to be used in combination with something else. And what I often do after a glory kill or chainsaw, and I know a lot of people are around me and there is the possibility of me getting stuck, that's when I do the flame belch grenade or a blood punch. Also, the blood punch is very handy to just get out of tight situations when you're stuck, or just for certain enemies a blood punch is super handy. And the ice bomb is normally good for enemies that are really large or really big and are a lot of trouble when you're close to them but you need to kill them. I'm talking about the horned guy on his fucking sled, or I don't know how you call them. But also for just a big, like the big devil guy or other guys that are fast. If you ice bomb them, it's gonna be a lot easier for you. You can also throw in some other bombs or even use your minigun. That's normally a useful tactic. The only problem is it doesn't work with demons, so know that. Then you have your 3 active runes. What I normally do is I need to have the air control, so that is a must. Then I also use the fast sprinting one after a glory kill or a chainsaw, because if you have speed, you're harder to hit. It's easier to get out of tight situations, because after a glory kill you normally want to move out of there, and if you got a speed boost, that's great. And then the third one I have, I think, health after a blood punch. I think a lot of people would like to have the L2 one where you slow down time, but I really hate that one, because when you slow down time you get out of your combat flow. And if you get out of your combat flow, that just sucks. You need to have a good combat flow with the game, and if you just keep getting slow motion, it's hard to know what the fuck's going on. My next tip is spatial awareness. Running around can help a lot, but sometimes you just have the big ass enemy, and then you just need to get a wall between you and him if you don't want him to hit you. So use that as cover, and also keep in mind where that enemy is. Know where you are in that arena, in that environment where you're playing. If you get a good sense of where the big enemies are, then you're gonna have an advantage and you're not gonna run into someone out of nowhere. That's why you do not, and sometimes I do this myself, do not run backwards, because you can have an enemy in your back and then you're often screwed, especially on nightmare difficulty. So now I've almost finished this video. I wanted to keep it a top 10, but it didn't really work, because there is an 11th one which is actually very important. Relates a lot to the dominance strategies, but there's another thing that is, you need to know your enemies, and you really need to know which weapons you need to use with which enemy and how you need to deal with certain enemies. There's certain enemies where you need to hold a certain distance from. There's certain enemies you can really go up close. You need to find out yourself, because I'm not gonna make a fucking 20-minute video explaining every fucking enemy, but you need to have a game plan for every enemy. You need to have reflexes. This game is all about reflexes. When you see an enemy, you need to do one thing. You don't need to think, because you already know the game plan when you see the enemy, and then you give a reflex. If you don't know what to do with an enemy, know it beforehand. Look at all the enemies that there are. Is there someone you have trouble with? And when you're getting stuck, or when you have a certain enemy in front of you and you die, think, why the fuck did I die? What did I need to do? And after a while you have every situation thrown at your head, and then you know what you need to do. And then you can have a really fun experience with this game. You can get into a great combat flow and think up interesting combinations. And that is where the fun zone is, which is what the game director always talks about, getting in the fun zone. And he says you can only do it when you get on Nightmare, and I think that is true, because if you don't play at Nightmare difficulty, I think it's too easy. I don't think you need to use all tools to win then. That's why I think you need to play this game on Nightmare difficulty, on the DLC and the main game, to get the most out of the game. So anyway, that was it. That was all my tips. It might have been a bit of a rant at the end, but it doesn't really matter. What I hope is that it really helps and encourages you to play this fucking game and complete it on Nightmare difficulty. This is the first time I actually made such a video. If you think this was helpful or fun or whatever, you can, I don't know, show some appreciation with a like. If you fucking hated it, it's strange you have watched it this far then, but leave a dislike then. If there is some specific problem you have with the boss or with a certain enemy or a certain area, you can post it down below. I might respond. I'd be even happy if fucking someone says something. You don't know how much I appreciate that shit, and it's not much of an effort to me to comment. Thank you all a lot for watching, and have a lot of fun slaying.